The dust on planet Varath 9 was red like blood. Commander Tae-min stepped carefully through the ruins, his boots crunching on broken glass and metal. Behind him, 5 crew members from the ship New Dawn spread out across the abandoned mining colony. They were looking for salvage, anything useful that the company might pay them for. "Commander, you need to see this," called out Minho, the pilot. His voice sounded strange over the radio. Tae-min walked toward Minho's position. What he found made him stop breathing for a moment. Bodies, dozens of them. But these were not human bodies. These beings were tall, maybe 7 feet, with skin that looked like crystal. Even dead, their bodies seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. They wore armor that looked more like art than protection, all flowing curves and strange symbols. "What were they?" asked Jisoo, the ship's medic. She knelt beside one of the bodies, scanning it with her medical device. "I don't know," Tae-min said quietly. "I've never seen this species before." The battlefield stretched out before them. Whoever these warriors were, they had died fighting something. Their weapons were scattered everywhere, strange devices that Tae-min couldn't identify. But in the center of it all, something caught his eye. A sword. It was beautiful, made of metal that seemed to shift colors in the light. The blade hummed softly like it was singing. Next to the sword lay another body. This one was different. The chest moved slightly. "Still alive, Jisoo! Over here!" Tae-min ran forward. The medic rushed over with her kit. The alien was female, her features similar to human but not quite right. Her skin flickered with light like a candle about to go out. She wore armor decorated with symbols that matched the ones on the sword beside her. "She's barely hanging on," Jisoo said, working quickly. "But I think I can stabilize her." Tae-min looked at the sword again. It was connected to the woman by threads of light so faint he could barely see them. The weapon clearly belonged to her. He needed to move it to make room for Jisoo to work. He reached down and grabbed the sword's handle. Pain exploded through his hand. Not normal pain. This went deeper. Past his skin, past his bones, straight into his soul. The sword burned with cold fire. Tae-min screamed and dropped it. The weapon fell silent immediately, landing next to the unconscious woman. "Sir!" Minho grabbed his arm. "Are you okay?" Tae-min pulled off his glove. His hand was burned, but the pattern was wrong. Instead of a normal burn, his palm showed markings like someone had drawn circuits or written words in his flesh. The marks glowed softly, pulsing with his heartbeat. "Get her to the ship," Tae-min ordered, his voice tight with pain. "And bring that sword. Carefully. Don't touch it." Back on the New Dawn, Jisoo worked for 3 hours to save the alien woman's life. Tae-min sat in the medical bay watching. His hand throbbed. The ship's medical computer couldn't heal it. Every scan came back confused, like the burn wasn't really there or was too complex to understand. "She's stable," Jisoo finally announced. "But I don't know when she'll wake up. Her biology is completely different from ours." "What about the sword?" Tae-min asked. "It's in the storage room. We sealed it in a container, but the container keeps getting warm. The sword won't stop humming." Tae-min looked at his burned hand. The marks had grown slightly, spreading toward his wrist. They didn't hurt anymore, but they felt strange, like his hand belonged to someone else now. 3 days passed. The New Dawn was heading back to the nearest human station when alarms blared through the ship. Tae-min rushed to the bridge. "What is it?" "Unknown ship just appeared on sensors," Minho reported. "Big one. It's not broadcasting any identification. Try to contact them." Before Minho could respond, a message came through. The voice was female, speaking a language Tae-min had never heard. But the ship's computer worked on translating it. "Attention, human vessel. You carry something that belongs to us. Return it immediately or be destroyed. This is Commander Tae-min of the exploration ship New Dawn. We rescued one of your people from a battlefield. She was dying. We saved her life." There was a pause. Then the voice came back, speaking better English this time, like the speaker was learning it as she talked. "You lie. You have stolen a sacred weapon. You have touched what no outsider may touch. Prepare to be boarded. The channel went dead." Tae-min looked at Minho. "Can we outrun them?" "Not a chance. That ship is twice our size and probably 10 times faster. Then we prepare to be boarded. Get everyone to the hangar bay, and someone get that sword." Tae-min stood in the hangar with his crew as the alien ship docked. He had placed the sword on a table in the center of the bay. The woman they rescued was still unconscious in medical. He didn't know what these aliens wanted, but he hoped they would listen to reason. The airlock opened. 20 warriors stepped through. They looked like the woman in medical, tall and crystalline, but these were armed and armored. Each one carried a weapon that glowed with inner light. Swords, spears, staffs, all of them hummed like the one on the table. Behind them came a woman who was clearly the leader. Her armor was more elaborate, her sword brighter. She looked at Taimin with eyes that burned like stars. "I am Bora, High Sanctum of the Eternal Vigil. You have stolen from us. You have touched sacred weapons with your unworthy hands. For this crime you will die." Taimin held up his burned hand. "I tried to help your warrior. I didn't know the sword would hurt me. Look, it marked me." Bora stepped closer. She stared at his hand. Her eyes went wide. Then she looked at her own sword. It was glowing brighter, humming louder, all around the hangar. The other warriors' weapons were doing the same thing. The sound grew until it hurt Taimin's ears. "No," Bora whispered. "This is impossible. You are human. You are nothing. You cannot be—" She reached toward his hand, then pulled back like she was afraid to touch it. Behind her, several warriors had dropped to one knee. Others looked confused, frightened even. "What did you do?" Bora demanded. "What trick is this?" "I don't understand," Taimin said honestly. "I just tried to move the sword. It burned me." "That's all?" Bora turned to her warriors. "Bring the medical container. Now." 2 warriors rushed out and returned with a floating stretcher. On it was the woman from the battlefield. She was awake now, looking around in confusion. When she saw Taimin, her eyes found his burned hand. She spoke rapidly in her language. Bora answered, her voice sharp. They argued back and forth. Finally, the injured woman said something that made everyone go silent. She pointed at Taimin, then at the sword on the table, then at the mark on his hand. She said one word that the translator picked up: chosen. The woman's name was Hana. That was the first thing Taimin learned when she could finally speak through the translator. The second thing he learned was that she was convinced he should be dead. "The blade should have killed you," Hana said from her medical bed. She was sitting up now, her crystalline skin glowing steadier as she healed. When an outsider touches a sanctum blade, the sword burns their soul away. There is nothing left, not even dust. "But I'm still here," Taimin said, holding up his marked hand. It had stopped hurting, but the pattern kept growing. Now it covered his entire palm and was creeping up his forearm. "Yes, you are." Hana looked at him like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. "The mark you carry, we call it the recognition. Only 2 types of people can receive it. The first is someone from a bloodline that has earned the right to carry a sanctum blade. The second is—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "The second is someone the blade chooses for a purpose. Someone it believes can do something important. In 10,000 years of our history, only 12 outsiders have received the recognition. All of them were other Kalathi. Kalathi. That's what your people are called?" "Yes, we are the Kalathi, guardians of light, protectors against darkness." Hana's eyes dimmed. "Though we failed in our protection, that is why you found me dying." Taimin pulled up a chair. "What happened on that planet?" Hana was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was heavy with grief. "We received a warning. An old enemy was waking up. We call it the consuming void. It is not alive, not in the way you understand life. It is hunger given form, darkness that eats light and life and hope. 10,000 years ago, our ancestors fought it and locked it away. But the locks were breaking." She looked down at her hands. "I led a squad of 50 Sanctum warriors to investigate. We found the void already free, already spreading. It had taken over the mining colony, turned the workers into extensions of itself. We fought, we tried to seal it again, but we were too late and too few. The void killed my entire squad. It would have killed me too, but—" She gestured to Taimin. "You arrived. This void thing. Is it still there?" "No, it moves. It spreads. By now it has probably consumed 3 more worlds." Hana's voice was flat, defeated, "and I am too weak to stop it." The door opened. Bora entered, her face hard as stone. Behind her came an older Kalathi, his skin more translucent than the others, showing networks of light beneath the surface like veins. "This is Elder Sora," Bora said. "He is one of the Eternal Council, the wisest of our people. He will examine the human." Elder Sora moved slowly, carefully. He studied Taimin's hand without touching it. Then he did something unexpected. He took out his own sword, a blade that looked ancient, covered in symbols so old they had worn smooth. "Hold out your hand, human," Sora said. His voice was kind but firm. "Is this going to hurt?" "Possibly, probably, but I must know the truth." Taimin extended his marked hand. Sora brought his blade close but not touching. The sword began to glow. The marks on Taemin's hand glowed in response. Then something incredible happened. Light jumped from the sword to his hand like electricity, but it didn't hurt. It felt warm, welcoming. Sora pulled his blade back quickly. He looked shaken. "It is true," he said quietly. "After all this time they have returned." "Who?" Taemin asked. "Who has returned?" Sora looked at Bora, then at Hana, then back at Taemin. "Your people, though you do not remember them. 10,000 years ago, the Kalathi were not the only guardians of light. We had allies, another race of warriors. They were not as long-lived as us. They did not have our natural connection to energy, but they had something we lacked. They had creativity. They had determination. They refused to accept defeat." The elder walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "We called them the Twice-Born, because their legend said they had nearly destroyed themselves once, then rebuilt from nothing. They fought the consuming void alongside us. And when the battle seemed lost, they did something we thought impossible. They found a way to seal the void, but it required sacrifice. Every one of them gave their lives to create the seal. But what does this have to do with humans?" Taemin asked. Sora turned back to him. "Because you are the Twice-Born. Your species carries their blood, their genetic memory. You are their children, though you have forgotten your heritage." The room was silent. Taemin looked at his hand at the marks that kept growing. "That's impossible. Humans are from Earth. We evolved there. We have fossils, genetic records going back millions of years." "Evolution is not a straight line," Sora said. "The Twice-Born came from somewhere." "Why not Earth? Why not a species that nearly killed itself, then started over? Your world wars, your near extinctions, your stubborn survival. Does that not sound like the people I described?" Taemin wanted to argue, but something inside him responded to Sora's words. It felt true in a way he couldn't explain. "So what happens now?" he asked. "Now we test you," Bora said. "If you truly carry the blood of the Twice-Born, you may be able to help us. The consuming void is spreading faster than we can fight it. We have only 3,000 Sanctum warriors in the entire galaxy. We are losing." Hana sat up straighter. "Brother Taemin saved my life. He has earned the right to choose his own path." "It's Commander Taemin," he corrected gently. Then he looked at his hand again. The marks had spread to his elbow now, forming patterns that looked almost like armor. "But she's right. This is my choice. Tell me what you need me to do." Sora smiled, and for the first time Taemin saw hope in the old warrior's eyes. "Come with us to our home world. Let us perform the awakening ritual. If you survive, you will understand what you truly are, and perhaps you will help us remember what we have lost." Taemin thought about his crew, his ship, his simple life exploring empty planets for salvage. Then he thought about entire worlds being consumed by darkness. "Okay," he said. "Let's do it." Bora looked surprised. "You agree?" "Just like that. You do not know the risks. I know enough. If I do nothing, more people die. If I try and fail, at least I tried." "That seems like an easy choice." Hana laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "See, sister? Just like the stories. The Twice-Born never hesitated when others needed help. Or they were just foolish," Bora muttered. But she was almost smiling. Taemin looked at Jisoo and Minho, who had been standing quietly by the door. "I need you two to take the New Dawn back to the station. Report what happened here. Tell them everything." "We're coming with you," Jisoo said immediately. "No. It's too dangerous." Minho shook his head. "With respect, Commander, that's not your call. We're crew. Where you go, we go." Taemin wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in their eyes. He recognized it. It was the same stubborn refusal to give up that Sora had described. Maybe the old warrior was right. Maybe humans really were the Twice-Born. "All right," he said. "But stay close to me, and if things go wrong, they won't," Hana said firmly. She was standing now, walking toward her sword. She picked it up easily, and it sang in her hands. "The blade recognized you. That means something. That means everything." The sword song grew louder, and all the Sanctum blades in the room joined in harmony. The sound was beautiful and terrifying. Taemin looked at his marked hand one more time. The pattern was still growing, still changing. He was changing too. He could feel it. Whatever happened next, there was no going back. The Kalathi homeworld was called Luora, which meant first light in their ancient language. When the new dawn dropped out of faster-than-light travel, Taemin saw why. The planet glowed, not reflected light from its sun, but actual light from the planet itself, as if the whole world was made of the same crystalline material as the Kalathi people. It's beautiful, Jisoo whispered from the observation deck. It's also heavily defended, Minho pointed out. I'm counting at least 50 warships in orbit. Bora stood beside them. Laura is more than our home. It is our sacred heart. The Temple of First Light is here. That is where you will undergo the awakening, Commander. The ship descended through clouds that sparkled with inner light. They landed in a city that looked like it had grown rather than been built. Every structure curved and flowed into the next. Kalithi walked the streets, going about their lives, but they all stopped to stare as Taemin and his crew disembarked. They can sense the recognition mark, Hana explained. To them, you are something that should not exist. It frightens them. Great, I'm terrifying. That's exactly what I wanted to be. Hana smiled. You are also hope. They just do not know it yet. The Temple of First Light stood at the city's center, a massive structure that reached into the sky. Inside, the air itself seemed to glow. Taemin felt like he was walking through liquid light. The walls were covered in carvings showing ancient battles, warriors with swords of light fighting against waves of darkness. At the temple's heart was a circular chamber. 12 figures sat in chairs that looked like thrones, each one older than the last. These were the Eternal Council, the leaders of all Kalathi. Elder Sora was among them, but he was not the eldest. That honor belonged to a woman so ancient, her crystalline skin was almost completely transparent. Light flowed through her like water through glass. I am High Elder Ara, she said. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it filled the entire chamber. I have lived for 823 years. I fought in the last war against the consuming void. I saw the Twiceborn die to save us all. She stood slowly and walked toward Taemin. When she reached him, she did something that made everyone in the room gasp. She knelt before him. Forgive us, she said. We forgot you. We failed to keep your memory alive, and now the darkness returns and we face it alone because we let you fade from history. Taemin didn't know what to do. He wasn't good with emotional moments. Finally, he reached down and gently helped her stand. If what you say is true, if humans really are connected to these Twiceborn, then we didn't forget. We just didn't know. But we're here now. Let's fix this together. Ara smiled, tears of light running down her face. So much like them. So practical. So kind. She turned to the council. The human will undergo the awakening. I will perform the ritual myself. High Elder, that is not necessary, Sora protested. Another can... No. I owe the Twiceborn a debt I can never repay. This is the least I can do. The ritual preparation took 3 days. Taemin was given a room in the temple and told to rest, meditate, prepare his mind. But he couldn't relax. The marks on his arm kept growing. They had reached his shoulder now, forming intricate patterns that looked like circuit boards mixed with ancient writing. On the second day, Hana came to visit him. She brought food that looked strange but tasted surprisingly good. How are you feeling? She asked, nervous. Everyone keeps talking about this awakening like it's dangerous, but nobody will tell me what actually happens. Hana sat down across from him. The ritual will unlock the genetic memory in your DNA. The knowledge and abilities of the Twiceborn will flow into you. Your body will change to accommodate the power. Most beings cannot survive this. Their minds break or their bodies tear themselves apart from the inside. That's comforting. But you have the recognition. The blade chose you. That means you have the strength to survive. I believe this. Taemin looked at his marked arm. Can I ask you something? Your sword. What's its name? Sora mentioned that Sanctum blades have names. Shimmer that cuts fate, Hana said softly. She has been in my family for 3,000 years, passed from parent to child. When my mother died fighting the void the first time, she gave the blade to me. I was only 16. I'm sorry. Do not be. She died with honor, protecting others. It is what a Sanctum warrior does. It is all we can do. Hana stood. Rest now. Tomorrow the awakening begins. The next day they led Taemin to a chamber deep beneath the temple. The room was round, with walls covered in the same symbols that marked his arm. In the center stood a pillar of pure light. High Elder Ara waited along with the entire Eternal Council. Bora and Hana stood to one side. Jisoo and Minho watched from the chamber entrance, looking worried. Commander Taemin, Ara said formally, you stand at the threshold of transformation. If you proceed, you may die. If you survive, you will no longer be fully human. You will become something more. Something ancient. Do you accept this? Taman thought about all the worlds the consuming void had already destroyed. He thought about Hana's squad, 50 warriors dead. He thought about what Sora had said, 3,000 Sanctum warriors trying to hold back an endless darkness. I accept. Then approached the pillar. Tamin walked forward. The light from the pillar was warm, welcoming. When he was close enough, Era spoke again. Place your marked hand on the light, he did. The moment his palm touched the pillar, everything changed. Pain. Unbelievable pain. It felt like his arm was being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. The marks on his skin began to glow, burning bright as stars. The light from the pillar flowed into him, through him, filling him up until he thought he would explode. Then the memories came. He saw a battlefield in space, thousands of ships fighting against a wave of darkness. He saw warriors in armor he recognized as ancient human design, wielding swords that blazed with light. He saw them laughing as they fought, encouraging each other, refusing to give up even when everything seemed lost. He saw Earth, but not the Earth he knew. This Earth was dying, burning, as humanity fought itself in wars that nearly ended everything. He saw the survivors rebuilding, reaching for the stars, determined never to make the same mistakes. He saw the Kalathi arriving, offering friendship and knowledge. He saw the two species learning from each other, fighting together, bleeding together. And he saw the final battle. The consuming void at its strongest, consuming entire star systems. The combined fleet broken and scattered. Then the Twice-Born doing something impossible. They channeled all their life force, all their power into a single moment. They became the seal that locked the darkness away. Every one of them died smiling, knowing they had saved their friends. Tamin screamed. The memories were too much, too intense. He was drowning in them. He was going to die, but then he heard a voice, not out loud, inside his mind. It was many voices speaking as one. We are not gone. We are in you. We are you. Remember us. Remember what we fought for. And fight again. The pain stopped. Taman opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor. Jisoo and Minho were calling his name. Hana knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face. You survived, she whispered. You actually survived. Taman sat up slowly. His entire right side was covered in marks now, from his hand to his neck. They glowed softly, pulsing with his heartbeat. He felt different, stronger, more aware. He could sense energy flows in the room, could feel the life force of everyone around him. High Elder Era was smiling. Welcome back, child of the Twice-Born. How do you feel? Like I died and came back, Taman said honestly. And like I remember things that never happened to me. Those things did happen, just not to you personally. You carry the memories of your ancestors now. You carry their strength. Ara looked at the council. The first awakening is complete. We must prepare for more. More? Taman asked. Bora stepped forward. You are not enough. One awakened Twice-Born cannot stop the void. We need an army. We need to awaken every human who is willing. Taman thought about what he had just experienced. The pain, the terror, the feeling of almost dying. And they wanted to do this to other humans? But he also remembered the memories. The way the Twice-Born fought together. The way they refused to give up. Then we'll need volunteers, he said. And we'll need to be honest about the risks, but yes. If this is what it takes to stop the void, then we do it. Hana stood and walked to the chamber wall. She reached up and pulled down a sword that hung there. It was smaller than Sanctum blades, simpler in design. But when she offered it to Taman, the weapon sang. This was forged by my people for yours 3,000 years ago. It has waited all this time for a Twice-Born to wield it again. Take it, you have earned this right. Taman reached out. The moment his fingers touched the handle, the sword blazed with light. It fit his hand perfectly, like it had been made for him specifically. What's its name? He asked. It has none. You must name it. That is the tradition. Taman thought about everything he had learned, about sacrifice and hope and fighting even when everything seemed lost. Dawnbringer, he said, because we're going to bring light back to the darkness. The sword pulsed in approval. Around the chamber, every Sanctum blade in the room sang in harmony. The awakening had begun. His message went out across all of human space. Volunteers needed for Project Twice-Born. The explanation was simple and honest. Humanity had a hidden heritage. An ancient enemy was returning. People were needed to unlock their genetic potential and fight. The process was dangerous. Many would die. But if nobody tried, everyone would die eventually. Taman expected a few dozen volunteers, maybe a few hundred if they were lucky. Within a week, there were over 10,000 people waiting. They came from everywhere, soldiers and civilians, young and old. Some came because they wanted to be heroes. Others came because they had already lost homes and family to the Void's advance. A few came simply because they were curious, because they wanted to know if the stories were true. The Kalathi set up training facilities on 5 different worlds. Each facility could handle 500 people at a time. The humans arrived in waves, nervous and excited. Timon stood in the main facility on Luora, watching the first group assemble. He saw a woman who introduced herself as Yunji. She was a teacher from a colony world, small and quiet, but her eyes were fierce. "I had 40 students," she told Timon. "The Void took my whole school. I couldn't save them. But maybe I can stop it from happening to someone else's students." There was Doyen, a mechanic who was missing his left arm. "Lost it in an accident," he explained cheerfully. "Figure if this awakening thing can make me into a super warrior, maybe it'll grow me a new arm too." And there was Hye-jin, a doctor who looked barely old enough to have finished medical school. "I heal people," she said simply. "But you can't heal someone the Void has consumed, so I'm going to learn to fight instead." Over the next month, the awakenings began. The first wave of volunteers entered the ritual chambers, 50 people at once, each one placed in front of a light pillar like the one Timon had used. Kalathi Sanctum warriors stood by to help, to guide, to pull people back if things went wrong. Things went wrong a lot. Of the first 50, 15 died. Their bodies simply couldn't handle the transformation. 12 more survived but didn't awaken. The genetic memory didn't activate for them. They walked out unchanged, disappointed but alive. 23 succeeded. Timon watched Yunji complete her awakening. She screamed for 10 minutes straight, her whole body glowing. When it was over, she collapsed. But when she stood up, marks like Timon's covered her arms. She picked up a training sword and moved with it like she had been fighting her whole life. "I remember," she whispered. "I remember all of them. All the warriors who came before. They're in my head teaching me." Doyen's awakening was spectacular. The light from his pillar blazed so bright everyone had to look away. When it faded, he had both arms. The marks had formed a new one, made of light and energy that worked like real flesh. "Well, that's convenient," he said, flexing his new fingers. Hye-jin almost didn't make it. She flatlined twice during the ritual. But Jisoo, who had been studying Kalathi medical techniques, managed to bring her back both times. When Hye-jin finally completed the awakening, she cried for an hour. "They were so brave," she sobbed. "The original Twiceborn. They knew they were going to die, and they did it anyway." The awakenings continued, wave after wave of volunteers. The success rate was terrible. For every 10 people who tried, only 3 emerged as awakened warriors. But 3,000 people became 900 warriors. Then 1,500. Then 2,000 Taemin trained with them. He discovered something interesting. The genetic memory gave them all basic fighting skills, but each person expressed it differently. Yunji fought with careful precision, like she was teaching a lesson. Doyen fought with wild creativity, using techniques nobody expected. Hye-jin fought with defensive skill, protecting others while striking at openings. "You are not copies of the same warrior," Hana told them during a training session. "You are individuals who share a legacy. That makes you stronger, not weaker." But while the humans trained, the Void grew stronger. Reports came in daily. 3 more systems lost, 5 more. The Void wasn't just consuming worlds anymore. It was learning. It created copies of itself, dark echoes that spread faster. It corrupted technology, turning defense networks against their builders. It possessed living beings, making them into puppets. And then the worst news came. Bora called an emergency meeting of the senior warriors. Taemin, Hana, and the other awakened humans gathered in the war room. A holographic display showed the galaxy. Entire sectors glowed red, marking Void territory. "It has consumed 30% of known space," Bora said grimly. "At this rate, we have 3 months before it reaches the core worlds. 6 months before everything is gone. Can't we evacuate?" Someone asked. "Evacuate where?" "The Void is everywhere. It spreads faster than we can run." Taemin studied the display. He could see the pattern. The Void wasn't spreading randomly. It was moving deliberately, cutting off escape routes surrounding populated areas. "It's hurting us," he said. "It wants us all in one place so it can consume everyone at once." "Agreed," said Admiral Hyun. a human military officer who had become the liaison between human and Kalathi forces. Which means we need to hit it before it's ready. We need to find its core and destroy it. We tried that, Bora snapped. We lost 20 Sanctum squads trying to reach the Void's heart. It defends itself too well. Then we try something it doesn't expect, Taman said. An idea was forming in his mind, built from memories that weren't quite his. The Twiceborn didn't fight like you do. They didn't have honor codes or formal tactics. They cheated. They used tricks and ambushes. They won ugly. Hana looked thoughtful. You are suggesting we combine our methods. Kalathi discipline with human creativity. Exactly. We play to both strengths. Admiral Hyun nodded slowly. I like it. We'll need to reorganize the fleet, mix human and Kalathi crews. It'll be chaos at first, but if it works, it will work, Taimin said with more confidence than he felt. They spent the next 2 weeks reorganizing. Human ships integrated Kalathi warriors. Kalathi ships took on human advisors. The two species learned each other's languages, shared tactical knowledge, ate meals together. It was messy. There were arguments. Some Kalathi thought humans were too crude. Some humans thought Kalathi were too rigid. But slowly they started to function as one force. Then disaster struck. A training facility on the outer world of Rena went silent. When scouts arrived to investigate, they found everyone dead. 200 awakened humans, 50 Kalathi trainers, all killed in minutes. The Void had found them. But worse than that, someone had let it in. The facility's shields had been lowered from the inside. Security systems deactivated. The Void had waltzed through open doors. A traitor, Bora said, her voice shaking with rage. Someone betrayed us. They found him 3 days later. His name was Yoon. He was a Sanctum warrior, respected and honored. But the Void had touched his mind during a battle, planted seeds of doubt and anger. Over time, those seeds grew. When they captured him, Yoon was half consumed. His crystalline skin had turned dark, shot through with black veins. His sword, once bright, now screamed instead of sang. You don't understand, he told them. The Void showed me the truth. The Kalathi are dying. We get weaker every generation. But these humans, these children, they show up and suddenly they're equals? No, we should be masters. The Void can give us that power. The Void gives nothing, Hana said coldly. It only takes, then I'll take from it. Yoon screamed. I'll use its power to make the Kalathi great again. He broke free and ran. Alarms blared. Warriors gave chase, but Yoon was fast, enhanced by Void corruption. He killed 3 guards and escaped in a stolen ship. He knows our plans, Admiral Hyun said. He knows our numbers, our locations, everything. Taman looked at his marked arm. The patterns were completely covering his right side now, spreading onto his chest. He could feel power building inside him, ancient strength waiting to be used. Then we changed the plan, he said. We move faster than he expects. We hit the Void now before he can tell them everything. We're not ready, Bora protested. We'll never be ready. The Void will always have more resources, more time, but we have something it doesn't. Taman looked around the room at the assembled warriors, human and Kalathi standing together. We have each other. That's going to be enough. It has to be. Elder Sora, who had been silent until now, spoke up. The boy is right. The Twiceborn never waited for perfect conditions. They fought when fighting was needed. We honor their memory by doing the same. Bora closed her eyes. When she opened them, she had made her decision. Prepare the fleet. We launch in 3 days. All available forces, human and Kalathi. We're going to the Void's heart, and we're going to end this. As everyone rushed to prepare, Hana pulled Taman aside. This is suicide, she said quietly. Probably. I am glad you are here anyway. Me too, Taman admitted, though ask me again after the battle. I might change my mind, Hana laughed. Then her expression turned serious. If we fail, if the Void takes us, promise me something. Promise you will make sure the story survives. That someone remembers we tried. We're not going to fail. But if we do, I promise. But we won't. Because you're going to make sure I don't do anything stupid. I cannot promise that. You do something stupid every day. They smiled at each other. Then they went to prepare for war. 3 days later, the combined fleet launched. 200 ships, human and Kalathi. 3,000 Sanctum Wari. The journey to the Void's heart took 5 days. 5 days of nervous energy. 5 days of preparing weapons, checking armor, making peace with the possibility of death. Taman spent the time training with Yoonji, Doyoon, and Hyejin, The four of them had become close during the awakening process, bonded by shared pain and shared memory. "Do you think it'll hurt?" Doyen asked during a break in training. "Dying, I mean." "Probably," Yunji said. She was sharpening her sword, the blade singing softly. "But being consumed by the void would hurt more, so we make sure that doesn't happen." Heejin sat quietly, running medical checks on everyone. "Your energy levels are fluctuating," she told Taemin. "The marks on your body, they're still spreading. You're changing faster than the rest of us." "I feel fine," Taemin lied. The truth was he felt strange. The genetic memories were getting stronger, more insistent. Sometimes he forgot which memories were his and which belonged to warriors dead for centuries. On the third day, Hana found him standing in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "Cannot sleep?" she asked. "Too much in my head. The memories won't stop. I keep seeing battles I never fought. I remember dying Hana hundreds of times. The twice-born who gave their lives to seal the void. I have their final moments in my brain." Hana stood beside him. "Is it terrible?" "No, that's the weird part. They weren't scared. They were happy. Because they were saving people they loved. They died smiling." Taemin turned to her. "I understand them now. Why they did it. If I have to make the same choice, I think I will too. Let us hope it does not come to that." They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Finally, Hana spoke again. "I have been thinking about something Sora said, about how the twice-born had creativity that we Kalathi lack. I believe I understand what he meant now." "What do you mean?" "We Kalathi, we follow tradition. We honor the old ways. We fight with discipline and structure. But you humans, you make up new solutions. You adapt. You survive by changing," she smiled. "I think that is why the sword chose you. Not because you are strong or skilled, but because you can imagine possibilities we cannot. That's a nice way of saying we're chaotic and unpredictable. Perhaps, but chaos can be useful." On the fifth day, they reached the edge of void territory. The stars here were different, dimmer, like the light was being slowly absorbed by something hungry in the darkness. Admiral Hyun addressed the fleet over the communication system. "We all know what we're facing. The void has consumed hundreds of worlds. It has power we can barely understand, but it has never faced us working together. Kalathi wisdom and human stubbornness. That combination is our weapon. Stay close to your squad mates. Protect each other. And remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone who can't fight. Let's make them proud." The fleet moved forward. Within an hour, they made contact with void forces. The enemy ships were horrible to look at. They had been normal vessels once, cargo haulers, passenger liners, military cruisers. But the void had corrupted them. Now they looked organic, like they were made of flesh instead of metal. Dark energy leaked from their hulls. "All ships, engage at will," Bora commanded. The battle began. Taemin stood in the landing bay of the Eternal Vigil, Bora's flagship. Around him, the elite strike team assembled. Hana and 40 other Sanctum warriors, Yunji, Doyen, Hyejin, and 47 awakened humans. This team had one job: get to the Void's core while the fleet kept the enemy busy. The plan was simple. The plan was crazy. The plan was probably going to get them all killed. "Ready?" Hana asked, her sword blazing in her hand. "No," Taemin said honestly. "But let's do it anyway." They launched in assault shuttles, 12 of them racing toward the massive structure at the center of Void territory. The Void's heart was enormous, bigger than a moon. It looked like a tumor, all twisted surfaces and pulsing darkness. Void fighters swarmed them. The shuttles weaved and dodged, their Kalathi pilots performing miracles. They lost 2 shuttles in the first minute. 20 warriors gone, but the rest made it through. They crashed into docking ports on the structure's surface and stormed inside. The interior of the Void's heart was nightmare made real. The walls were wrong. Sometimes they looked like metal, sometimes like stone, sometimes like skin. Things moved in the shadows. Corrupted beings, barely recognizable as the species they used to be. "Stay together," Taemin shouted. "Don't let them separate us." They fought their way deeper. Every corridor was a battle. Every room held horrors. But they kept moving, kept pushing forward. Yunji fought like a dancer, her sword a blur. Doyen used his light arm to grab enemies and throw them into each other. Heejin protected the wounded, her blade flashing in desperate defense. And Taemin led them forward, following an instinct he didn't understand. The genetic memory was guiding him, showing him the way. They lost more warriors. A Kalathi named Ara fell defending a doorway, A human named Jin died buying them time to cross a bridge. Each loss hurt, but they couldn't stop to mourn. Finally, they reached the core chamber. It was massive, the ceiling lost in darkness above, and in the center, suspended in midair, was the void itself. It looked like a wound in reality, a tear in space that leaked darkness. Just looking at it made Taemin's eyes hurt, and standing in front of it was Yoon. The corrupted Sanctum warrior had changed. He was barely recognizable now, more void than Kalathi. His sword had become a weapon of darkness, screaming instead of singing. "You're too late," Yoon said. His voice echoed with multiple tones. "The void is fully awakened. Nothing can seal it now." "We're not here to seal it," Taemin said. "We're here to kill it," Yoon laughed. "Kill it? You cannot kill the void. It is entropy. It is the end of all things. It is inevitable." "Nothing is inevitable," Hana said, stepping forward. "Not while we still fight." "Then die fighting, little sister," Yoon attacked. He moved faster than should be possible, his corrupted blade striking like lightning. Hana met him blow for blow, their swords clashing in explosions of light and darkness. The rest of the team rushed toward the void's core, but corrupted warriors poured from the walls. The two forces collided in brutal combat. Taemin fought his way forward. The marks on his body were burning now, glowing so bright he was hard to look at. Power surged through him, ancient and terrible and wonderful. He reached the void's core and stabbed his sword into it. The reaction was immediate. The void screamed. The sound wasn't audio, it bypassed ears and went straight into the mind. Half the team dropped to their knees, clutching their heads, but Taemin held on. He poured energy into his blade, using the genetic memory as a guide. The Twiceborn had sealed the void before. They had known how. The void fought back. It offered him things: power, immortality, the ability to save everyone he loved. "All you must do is stop fighting," the void whispered in his mind. "Stop resisting. Join with me. Together we will remake the universe. No, you cannot win. Even if you seal me again, I will return. I always return. Then we'll fight you again, and again. As many times as it takes. Why? Why struggle when the end is inevitable?" Taemin thought about Yoonji and her students, about Doyoon and his cheerful optimism, about Hee-jin and her determination to heal what was broken. He thought about Hana and her people, fighting for 10,000 years against an enemy that never stayed defeated. "Because struggling is what we do," he said. "Because as long as we're alive, we have hope. And hope is stronger than you." He pushed more energy into his blade. The sword blazed bright as a star. The void screamed again. Then Taemin felt someone beside him. Hana. Her sword joined his, piercing the void's core. Then Yoonji. Then Doyoon. Then Hee-jin. One by one, every surviving member of the strike team added their power to his. The void thrashed. Darkness exploded outward, consuming warriors. But they didn't stop. They poured everything they had into their weapons, and slowly, impossibly, the void began to shrink. But Taemin could feel it. This wasn't going to work. The void was too strong. They could wound it, hurt it, but not kill it. Not permanently, unless someone stayed behind to be the seal. The genetic memory showed him how. One person standing at the center, channeling all their life force into a permanent binding. The Twiceborn had done it. 10,000 of them had sacrificed themselves. One person could do it now. If that person was strong enough, if that person had enough power. Taemin looked at the marks covering his body. They had spread across his entire right side, onto his face, down his legs. He wasn't fully human anymore. He was something more, something the void feared. He could be the seal. He could end this. He would just have to die to do it. "No," Hana said. She was reading his face, understanding what he was thinking. "Taemin, no. There must be another way." "There isn't," he said calmly. The genetic memory was clear. One life for billions. One sacrifice to save everything. It was the same math the Twiceborn had faced. And just like them, Taemin found he was okay with it. "We can find another solution," Yoonji insisted. "Give us time. We don't have time." Taemin gestured at the void. It was fighting back harder now, sensing what they planned. Corrupted warriors poured into the chamber. "If we don't seal it now, we lose everything," Doyoon laughed bitterly. Of course it comes down to this. The hero sacrifice. I hate this plan." "Me too," Taemin admitted. "But I'm doing it anyway." He looked at each of them. His friends. His squad. In a few short months, they had become family. Hyejin, keep the others alive. Doyen, get everyone back to the ships. Yoonji, tell the story. Make sure people remember what happened here. And me? Hana asked quietly. You have the hardest job. You have to let me go. Tears of light ran down Hana's face. I cannot. You are my friend. You are... She didn't finish. She didn't have to. I know, Taemin said. But this is what I have to do. The Twiceborn showed me. Sometimes saving everyone means losing yourself. The void roared. The chamber shook. Cracks appeared in the walls. Go, Taemin ordered. Now, before it's too late. Yoonji grabbed Hana's arm. Come on. We have to trust him. No, I will not leave him to die alone. You have to. Taemin smiled at her. Because if you stay, you'll die too. And then who will remember me? Hana looked at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She took off her sword belt and held out Shimmer that cuts fate. The blade chose you. I see that now. It was always meant for you. She pressed the sword into his hands. Take it, use both blades. Make the seal stronger. Hana, do not argue. There is no time. She touched his face gently. You are the bravest person I have ever known. The Twiceborn would be proud to call you their child. Then she turned and ran, following the others out of the chamber. Taemin watched them go. When they were gone, he turned back to the void. Just you and me now, he said. He held Dawnbringer in his right hand and Shimmer that cuts fate in his left. Both swords blazed with light. The marks on his body burned. Taemin walked toward the void's core. Corrupted warriors tried to stop him, but he cut through them without slowing. The genetic memory guided every move, every strike. He was fighting like warriors dead for centuries, using skills he had never learned. He reached the void's core and drove both swords into it. The void screamed. The sound was so loud, so painful that Taemin thought his skull would crack. You cannot kill me, I am eternal. Maybe, Taemin gasped. But I can lock you away. Forever. He began to channel his life force into the swords. It felt like bleeding, but worse. His strength flowed out of him and into the weapons which poured it into the void. The void fought back. It showed him visions. His crew dying. Hana consumed by darkness. Humanity enslaved. Every possible horror to make him stop. But Taemin kept going. He thought about why he was doing this. Not for glory. Not for honor. But because someone had to, and he was the one in position to do it. The void changed tactics. It offered him rewards. Stop this and I will give you anything. Power to reshape worlds. The ability to bring back everyone you have lost. I can make you a god. Don't want to be a god, Taemin said. Just want to be someone who helped. More of his life flowed away. The marks on his body were blazing now. So bright the whole chamber was lit up. He could feel his body starting to crystallize, turning into light and energy. Please, the void whispered. I am not evil. I am simply hungry. It is my nature to consume. Would you blame a shark for being a shark? No, Taemin admitted. But I would still stop it from eating people. Almost done now. The void was shrinking, being compressed back into nothing. Taemin could barely stand. His body was more light than flesh now. If you do this, you will die. Truly die. There will be no afterlife, no peace. You will cease to exist. Worth it, Taemin whispered. He gave the last of himself to the seal. His body turned completely into light, becoming part of the barrier that locked the void away. His last thought was, I hope this was enough. Then darkness. But not the void's darkness. This was peaceful, quiet. Taemin opened his eyes. He was standing in a field of light. All around him were figures glowing softly. Thousands of them, tens of thousands. Welcome, brother, said a voice. One of the figures stepped forward. It looked human but wrong in small ways, like an echo of humanity rather than the real thing. You are the Twiceborn, Taemin realized. We were. Now we are the seal. And now you are too. Taemin looked down at his body. He was solid again, but made of light instead of flesh. Am I dead? Yes and no. Your body is gone. But your consciousness remains part of the barrier that holds the void. As long as the seal stands, you stand. Forever? Until someone finds another way to destroy the void completely. Until then, we wait, we watch. We hold the darkness back. Taemin thought about that. Thought about spending eternity as a living lock on the door to oblivion. It should have terrified him, but it didn't. Because he wasn't alone. Does it hurt? He asked. No, we are beyond pain now. Beyond fear. We simply are, the figure smiled. And we are content. We saved those we loved. That is enough. Other figures approached. Taemin recognized them from genetic memory. Warriors who had fought and died thousands of years ago. They welcomed him like an old friend. Come, one of them said. Let us teach you how to be the seal. It is not difficult. You simply hold on. Hold on and never let go. I can do that, Taemin said. I'm good at being stubborn. They laughed, and the sound was like wind chimes. Outside in the real world, the void structure was collapsing. The strike team barely made it back to their shuttles before the entire place imploded, sucking into itself until only empty space remained. And in the center of that empty space, floating alone, was a statue made of crystal and light. It showed a man holding two swords, frozen in the act of striking downward. His face was calm, almost peaceful. Taemin, Hana whispered. The fleet regrouped. Casualties were heavy. 50 ships lost, 1,000 warriors dead, but they had won. The void was sealed. Bora ordered the crystal statue brought aboard the Eternal Vigil. When they tried to move it, the swords wouldn't come loose from its hands. Dawnbringer and Shimmer That Cuts Fate were part of the statue now, part of the seal. He became the barrier, Elder Sora said softly. Just like the original Twiceborn. He gave everything. Hana knelt before the statue. You promised to make sure the story survived. Now I promise the same. Everyone will know what you did. Everyone will remember Commander Taemin, the first awakened human who sacrificed himself to save the galaxy. The statue didn't respond, but for just a moment Hana thought she saw the faintest glow from its eyes, like someone inside was watching, like someone inside was saying goodbye. The news spread fast. Humanity learned the truth about the Twiceborn, about their heritage, about what Taemin and thousands of volunteers had done. Some people were angry they hadn't been told sooner. Others were proud. Most were just relieved that the void was stopped. The Kalathi High Council offered humanity full partnership, equal standing among the galactic community, access to Kalathi technology and training. The proposal passed unanimously. Yunji became a teacher again, but this time she taught the history of the Twiceborn. She made sure every child, human, and Kalathi knew the story, knew the names, knew the sacrifice. Doyen led teams that built monuments on 100 worlds. Each one showed the same image. A human and a Kalathi standing together, weapons raised against the darkness. Hyojin continued as a healer, but she also trained new awakened humans. The awakening program continued, slower now, more careful. But it continued, because the void might return, and when it did, humanity would be ready. Bora stepped down as High Sanctum and became Elder Bora, joining the Eternal Council. She spent her time building stronger bonds between humans and Kalathi, making sure the alliance lasted. And Hana did something no Sanctum warrior had ever done before. She forged a new blade. It took her 3 years. The sword was made in honor of Taemin, incorporating metal from Dawnbringer's sheath and light from Shimmer That Cuts Fate's essence. She named it Hope That Burns Forever. When it was complete, she carried it to the monument where Taemin's crystal statue stood in the Temple of First Light. She knelt before it and spoke. I do not know if you can hear me, but if you can, I want you to know this. You changed everything, not just the war. You changed us. Kalathi and humans, we fight together now. We learn from each other. We are stronger because you showed us how to be. The statue remained still. I miss you, Hana admitted. Every day, but I am not sad. Because you did exactly what you set out to do. You helped. You saved everyone. And you made sure we remembered what it means to hope. She stood and raised her new sword in salute. Rest well, brother. Rest well, knowing we will guard what you protected. The darkness will not return, not while we stand. He galaxy changed. Humanity spread. Not as conquerors, but as partners. Human and Kalathi colonies existed side by side. Children grew up speaking both languages, learning both cultures. The Awakening program had created over 15,000 awakened humans. They served as guardians, working with Kalathi Sanctum warriors to protect against threats, pirates, rogue AI, natural disasters. They were heroes. But they never forgot where it started. They never forgot Taemin. Admiral Hyun, now old and gray, stood at the command of a joint human-Kalathi fleet. Under his command, the two species had liberated a dozen worlds from various threats. He was a legend. but he always said the same thing when people praised him. I just did what Commander Taemin taught me. Stay stubborn. Protect each other. Never give up. Jisoo became the leading expert on human Kalathi biology. Her research had saved thousands of lives. But she spent her free time maintaining the memorial gardens around Taemin's statue. She planted flowers from Earth and crystalline plants from Luora. The two species grew together, intertwining, becoming something new and beautiful. Mio trained the next generation of pilots. He was known for being tough but fair, and he told all his students the same story on their first day. 20 years ago, I served under the bravest person I ever met. He wasn't the strongest or the smartest, but when everyone else was afraid, he stepped forward. That's what I want from you. Not perfection, just courage when it matters. The awakened humans from the first generation became teachers and leaders. Unji ran the largest academy for awakened training. Doyen oversaw weapons development, creating new tools to protect people. Hyejin led the medical corps, always finding new ways to heal. But the galaxy wasn't completely at peace. Strange things started happening at the edges of known space. Ships disappeared. Colonies reported odd energy readings. Nothing concrete. Nothing that screamed danger. But Elder Sora recognized the signs. It is testing the seal, he told the Eternal Council. The void is not dead. It is locked away, but it is still conscious. It is looking for weaknesses. The seal will hold, Bora said firmly. Taemin and the Twiceborn made sure of that. For now. But nothing is permanent. Eventually, we will need to find a better solution. A way to truly destroy the void instead of just containing it. Research teams were formed, scientists and warriors working together, searching for answers in ancient texts and new technology. They needed to find a way to kill entropy itself, to end the void forever. It would take decades, maybe centuries, but they had time. The seal was strong. In the space between spaces where the void was locked away, Taemin stood watch. He was not alone. The Twiceborn surrounded him. Tens of thousands of consciousnesses all merged into the barrier. They were separate but connected, individual but unified. How long has it been? Taemin asked. Time was strange here. It could have been minutes or years. 20 years in the outside world, one of the Twiceborn answered. A blink for us. Taemin could sense the real world through the barrier. He could feel the life out there. The growth, the hope. He couldn't interact with it directly, but he could watch. He saw Hana leading new warriors. He saw Yunji teaching children. He saw humanity and the Kalathi building something beautiful together. You did well, the Twiceborn said. The seal is stronger than it has ever been. The void cannot break free. It's trying, though. I can feel it pushing. It will always try. That is its nature. But we will always push back. That is our nature. Taemin nodded. He could feel the void beneath him raging against its prison. It whispered constantly, promising rewards, threatening vengeance, begging for freedom. He ignored it, just like he had been ignoring it for 20 years. Does it ever stop? He asked. The void's voice. Does it ever shut up? No, but you get used to it. Eventually it is just noise. Great. Something to look forward to. They laughed. Even here, even as living barriers against oblivion, they could still laugh. On Luora, in the Temple of First Light, Hana brought a visitor to see Taemin's statue. The visitor was young, maybe 16. Her name was Yuna. She had just completed her awakening, one of the latest generation of human warriors. The marks on her arms were still fresh, still glowing brightly. Is it true? Yuna asked. Did he really defeat the void alone? Not alone, Hana corrected. He had help. He always said that our strength comes from each other, not from individuals. But yes, at the end, he made the final sacrifice by himself. Yuna stared at the statue. I don't think I could do that. Give up everything, become a prison forever. Neither did he until the moment came. Courage is not about not being afraid. It is about being afraid and doing what must be done anyway. What was he like, as a person? Hana smiled, remembering. Stubborn, practical. He made jokes at bad times. He didn't think he was special, which made him more special than he knew. And he cared. About everyone. Even people he had just met. I wish I could have met him. In a way you have. The genetic memory you carry, some of that came from him. His sacrifice strengthened the Twiceborn legacy. Every awakened human has a piece of his courage inside them. Yuna touched the statue gently. Thank you, she whispered. for saving us, for showing us how to be strong." The statue didn't move, but for just a moment the swords in its hands glowed slightly brighter. 50 years passed. Hana was old now by human standards, though Kalathi aged slower. She had trained 3 generations of warriors. She had seen the alliance between humans and Kalathi grow into something unbreakable. She stood in the memorial garden, surrounded by flowers from 100 worlds. The statue of Taimin was covered in small offerings. People left flowers, notes, small tokens. Everyone had their own way of saying thank you to the man who saved them. "You would hate this attention," Hana said to the statue. "You always said you were just doing your job. But we know better. We know you were a hero." She placed her hand on the crystal. It was warm, always warm, like the person inside was still alive. "I'm old now. My time is running short. But I wanted to tell you something before I go. We found a way. The researchers, they think they can destroy the void. Truly destroy it, not just lock it away. It will take time. Decades still, but we will do it. And when we do, you can rest. You can finally be free." The statue remained silent, but Hana felt something. A warmth that spread from the crystal into her hand. It felt like a hug, like someone saying it's okay. "Wait for me," she whispered. "Wherever you are, wait for me, and when this is done, we will meet again." 100 years passed. The research was complete. After decades of work, human and Kalathi scientists had found a way to destroy the void. Not seal it. Not contain it. But truly end it. The process was complex, involving technology and techniques no one had dreamed of a century ago. It required the combined effort of both species, working in perfect harmony. They built a massive device around the space where Taimin's statue floated. The device would channel pure creation energy into the seal, overwhelming the void's destructive nature. Light would consume darkness. Life would defeat entropy. But there was a risk. When the void died, the seal would break. All the consciousnesses trapped inside would be released. Most would simply cease to exist, their purpose fulfilled. They would finally know peace. But some might survive. Some might return. On the day of the activation, thousands of ships gathered to witness. This was history. This was the moment humanity and the Kalathi would end the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. Elder Yunji, ancient now, her marks faded with age, spoke to the gathered fleet. 100 years ago, brave warriors sacrificed everything to give us this chance. Today we honor that sacrifice by finishing what they started. Today we end the void. Today we bring our heroes home, the device activated. Energy poured into the seal, wave after wave of pure light. The void screamed. Its death cry echoed across dimensions, felt by every awakened human and every Kalathi warrior. Then silence. The void was gone, truly gone, destroyed at a level beyond physical, beyond metaphysical. It ceased to exist in any meaningful way. The seal shattered. Taimin's statue cracked. Light burst from the fractures. The crystal dissolved and the swords fell free, clattering to the deck of the observation platform. And where the statue had been, something else appeared. A figure, human-shaped but made of light. It was transparent, barely visible, but it was there. "Did it work?" the figure asked. The voice was faint but recognizable. "Is it over?" "Taimin?" Yunji whispered, tears streaming down her ancient face. "Is that you?" I think so." The figure looked at its hands. "I don't understand. I should have ceased to exist when the seal broke. We all should have, but more figures were appearing. The twice-born, thousands of them manifesting as ghosts made of light. They looked confused, disoriented. A Kalathi scientist was frantically checking readings. The device worked too well. It didn't just destroy the void, it transformed the seal. The consciousness trapped inside were preserved, converted into pure energy. "Can we bring them back?" someone asked. "Make them solid again?" "No, they are beyond physical now. But they can interact with the world. They can see us, speak to us. They are not gone. They are just changed." Taimin's light form was starting to understand.